Okay, we're at 30 participants. That's more than I expected. So I think we can probably get this going. Is there anyone we're still waiting that somebody knows about? With maybe some problems with the link or something, just maybe let me know and then we can try and sort them out. Okay. Hi everybody. I'm very excited to host tonight's technical evening, and I've decided that we should turn this one around a bit. Usually we talk about technology in our technology evenings in the automation and control field, but tonight we're going to talk about the people in our field that is driving the future here for us. This being August and being Women Month, I decided that let's invite some of the women that's in our industry working with us and get some of their views around the table. So yeah, and it's very exciting for me to see some of our old colleagues that's now residing outside the Vaal, in other parts of the country and even other parts of the world joining us tonight. And I think that's that shows you how this whole COVID, remote working and all these things, it turned our world upside down, but it also made us connect a lot easier with each other, and probably showed us that we should have done this a lot earlier. So yeah. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody of you here to the session tonight. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Zoom, so you can either type there on the chat section, but if you've got a question, I would ask you to just pose it on the question and answer tab, that we make sure we cover it. Otherwise, we might miss it there in the chat. And then, yeah, please participate, ask questions. We'll see if it fits in with the discussion, or we'll at the end definitely answer all of the questions with you guys. Yeah, so I'm often asked, how is it to work with your wife? And I always say, why won't you want to work with your wife? She's my life partner, and we got married to take on the world together. So that's exactly what we're doing at work as well. So it's always very nice to know that if I'm busy overselling an idea or maybe overcommitting on a project or so, I know I've got somebody that's got my back at the office, or that can help me solve this problem. And then solving this together is always exciting for me. As we've studied together, we are used to this, and that's I won't have it any other way. So yeah, during the lockdown, I've taken some time to read, although you thought you're going to have a lot of time, but actually you're actually working a lot more. But I managed to read one book. So the one that I picked up was The Moment of Lift. And this is how to empower women, how empowering women changes the world. And this is by Melinda Gates. And this highlighted again to me the importance of the role that we have in our careers to empower women and create diverse teams to solve the problems of tomorrow. So, this took me on a bit of a journey through the internet and looking at things and researching this a bit. And as this is also something that's close to my heart, and as throughout my career, I've always valued working with female engineers as they bring new perspectives and bring some courage and a different approach, and always an approach for the better of everybody that I've seen throughout. I see with Kati here. I remember back in Secunda, probably 13 years back, we had the one team session where Honeywell and Proconics and Sasol all came together to see how are we going to do projects more effective and efficient. And and that's the type of thinking that always helps us and brings us forward. And that's why it's my pleasure in introducing also the panel that I've assembled here tonight. So when I read the book and decided that I want to have this session, I also said I definitely am not the expert on this. I'm passionate about it, but I don't have the answers, and I would really rather pull on some of the people that came with me throughout my career. So I've watched these other three ladies that you can see here on the screen take on a lot of challenges that definitely me as a man didn't need to face, but they all of them faced those challenges and got to the top of their game, and is excelling in what they're doing, and taking on this whole role is very exciting, and that's why I respect them, and I want to encourage everybody to say, what can I learn and what can I hear from some of my colleagues? How things going? So yeah, I'm very excited to welcome them on the panel for tonight. We've got Annemarie van Koller. She's a professional engineer with more than 15 years experience. And Annemarie was the first president and now the director of the SIMC, driving the organization to newer heights. I think the SIMC has grown and changed over the past few years from initiatives of Annemarie, Oretele, Johan Martens, and everybody helping there. So yeah, and in her professional career, she has started from the site at Sasol, where she worked on the plants as a control engineer, and now she finds herself in a new role as a data engineer, specializing in data analysis and insights and strengthening the business and make it more robust. So welcome, Annemarie, and yeah, please share your expectations of the evening with us and say hello to the audience.
Hi everyone. I think my expectations for today is just that everyone will hear the stories that we all have to share, and to know that there is no one path. You can do your own thing and still reach your dreams.
Yes, no, that's always for me when listening to stories of different people and doing interviews and engaging with people, asking them about their story. And after a while, you realize that everybody's got a different story, and one is always very quickly to put down your bias and put down your conception or your predefined way of thinking. And after listening to somebody's story, it's makes a lot more sense. So yeah. Next we've got Elmarie Kuhn. Yeah, so Elmarie is an electrical engineer by trade, but as life creates interesting turn-offs, she finds herself being the marketing manager here at Proconics. So she is a proudly South African here to make a difference, and her passion is to show and communicate the wonderful world of engineering, cross-pollinating lessons learned to other businesses and disciplines, and she's engaging a lot on our marketing and also finding ways we can get more engineers into engineering. So welcome, Elmarie, and thanks for joining.
Thank you, Dirk. And for me, the nicest thing that would happen out of this event is to build new connections and take this further and keep the discussions going after the session.
Cool, thanks. Now, next up, we've got Elisma van der Walt. She's got the same surname as me. So Elisma is a professional engineer with also over 15 years experience. Elisma's career has taken her from the Sasol plant, the workshops, Area J there in Secunda, to being the first female shareholding partner in Proconics. As she now heads engineering, responsible for all the engineering disciplines. She's a passion for collaborative leadership and creating an interdisciplinary team that can take on any challenge in the complex brownfields refining chemical space where we work in. So welcome, Elisma, and yeah, what would you want to see out of tonight?
Evening, everyone. So I get really excited speaking about interesting things with interesting people. I think two of them are sitting here with me, and I have to give a shout out to Kati as well. Kati, you've obviously made an impact on a lot of us. So much love. For me, I think I've learned a little bit late not to shield against vulnerable and open discussions, and instead finding strength in those discussions, which I'm loving these days. So I think if we can pull that a little bit earlier for someone sitting here tonight, earlier in their career, that for me would be a win. Even if it's not a question you can ask tonight, even if you just build up the courage to message one of us in LinkedIn, in our message boxes, that's already a step in the right direction. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, so I want to share a story first. Like Kati in the chat mentioned, Muriel, she was also my first partner in crime in the office, sitting next to me. We shared an office just as we started engineering. She joined Proconics, and after studying in the Netherlands, so she had a Dutch accent, speaking English, but she's actually Afrikaans, and that always confused a lot of people. So, but with Muriel, she had there was always a plan, something that she was busy with, trying to make the place better and see how can we change up. So our previous MD was a strict man, if I can call it that, and she convinced him in us in taking a employee engagement survey, just to understand how the people is feeling that's working in the company. And that's those type of things that you don't always appreciate in the moment, but looking back at that, you know that, yeah, that really made a difference. And yeah, I think also something we've got here at Proconics is a very much a drive, or our year-end functions is always a dress up or some sort of a party. And she started that with a Western themed party the first year, and I think we've been carrying on with that for 15, 16 years now already. So yeah, but the sad part of that story is that she exited. She resigned and decided to do something else in her life. So this is a problem that we are facing with female engineers in South Africa, especially, but I think this is pretty much a problem we've got in the world. So if you look at the stats of EXA, you sit with only 11% of registered engineers are women. So that is really a troubling stat, as there's a lot more of women that maybe starts with the studies in engineering, and as we carry on throughout the years, it gets less and less. So that is something that we should really look at and see how can we do that, what can we do better or different as a community, as the SIMC, as an employer, or just a colleague in engaging and maybe debunking and not listening to the stereotypes or the preconceptions one has around engineers and around women and all of that. So yeah, I like to then just go over and ask our panelists a few questions. I've done enough talking for now. So yeah, Elmarie, first off to you, can you maybe tell us a bit about your journey that you took from being an engineer to becoming a marketing manager and the impact that you are making on young people now to create the future engineering feedstock for us.
Okay, thank you, Dirk.
Thanks.
So I started at the University of Stellenbosch. I had a bursary with Eskom, and I finished my electrical engineering degree there. And in 2007, I started at Proconics as an electrical engineer, executing basic engineering projects, detailed design, construction support on numerous projects. And then I moved over to control and instrumentation, where I executed basic engineering, detailed design, and software programming projects. At that stage, Proconics started to land more EPC projects, and they required more project managers with the technical depth in electrical and control and instrumentation design. So I put up my hand, and in 2011, I became the department manager for projects for the Secunda office. And I managed at that stage about roughly 20 people. Then in 2012, I became pregnant with our fourth child. And with the high pace at work and the high demands at home, at that stage, I couldn't see how I could be brilliant at work and also brilliant for my children. My husband also worked long hours, so I decided, okay, let me stop work. So I stopped completely. I wanted to devote all my time and energy towards my family, and that almost drove my husband into a mental institution, because I started to focus all of my work energy that I had left onto him. So he didn't like that very much. And then in 2014, one of my old connections at Proconics, a previous manager, phoned me and he said to me, Almarie, I need your help in solving a problem. At that stage, he called me in and he said, manage your own hours, but I need you to sort this out for me. So I had to manage a team inside the company, and I could manage it or execute the project. And it was a win-win situation for both of us, because he didn't have to appoint anyone permanently, and I could come in, sort it out for him, and then leave again. But when that project finished, I was approached by our MD, and he asked me to sort out another problem, and that was on the project accounting side. Once that mini project were done, I said to my boss, okay, what's next? And he said, marketing. So that's where I am today. But I think, to sum it up, with the experience that I gained through the years that I was excelling and focusing on my career and building the connections, that helped me to be where I am now, being able to sort out smaller projects, but stuff that still is important to the company and still needs to be done. And then,
I think it's,
sorry, please.
Sorry, Maria, I think it's for me awesome to, you don't always know the path that you're going to take, but the skills that you get along the path is what takes you forward, and that's exactly what you've done.
Yeah. Sorry, you also asked about impact on young people.
Yes.
So with regards with my role as the marketing manager, I'm very passionate about engineering and getting as many people and children to study engineering. So what we found is there's so many amazing initiatives running in South Africa currently. So what we are doing is we are researching and looking for these opportunities. And one of the examples is Tikkies is currently having a winter school. It's online, it's free. And what we did is we enrolled one of our young engineers to have a look and see what's going on. And he wrote a review about it and said, listen, if I was in matric, this would have helped me greatly to prepare me for my matric exams, as well as prepare me for university. So we are looking at different innovative ways that South Africans are trying at the moment and implementing to encourage our young people to start focusing and getting prepared. Because the thing is, not a lot of people know that your grade 11 December marks you need to use to apply for university, for example. So to create that awareness and help children enrolling in universities, that is extremely important for us. One of the other initiatives that we got involved with is a company called Nkazimulu Applied Sciences. They are situated in Durban. And the amazing thing about this was it's a lady who started the company and she studied BSc Science. And when she came into university, it was the first time ever that she saw a laboratory. She's never seen any experiments take place, anything like that. So she started this company, and what they do is they build boxes that are, for example, for grade 10, 11, and 12 separately. All the experiments that you need to do according to CAP's curriculum is inside that box. So a child can take that, they can do their own experiments, they can see and learn what is in the textbooks. So there are so many nice initiatives that are running in South Africa. We want to support that and encourage that and see how we can expand these initiatives to more children and more people in our country.
I think that ties up a bit on the question here from Jabulani on the side is, hi ladies, how will you be contributing to Take a Girl Child to Work initiative? A lot of them sound scared of engineering. So
yeah, so at the moment it's a bit difficult with COVID, but I totally agree. Well, the thing is, I think with COVID, the advantages came out that there's now so many more possibilities. So Take a Girl Child to Work could either be Elisma wearing a webcam for the day and showing them this is a day in the life of a girl engineer. So we are thinking about initiatives like that, which I think will work nicely.
oh yeah, thank you very much. That's this COVID and technology and what we're doing is providing us with a lot of nice opportunities. I think next up I've got a question for Elisma. Now, if you can please tell us about your journey from being a young engineer to being in a leadership position in a privately owned business, and what it takes to be an authentic leader, engage and develop all those young engineers that Elmarie is bringing for us. What are you going to do with them when they get here?
Oh, so I thought a little bit of this question, and I think the first thing that I want to say is there's no shortcut to authenticity. I think there's no book that you can quickly read or course that you can quickly attend. It's something you would have to live. You have to live the things you are trying to teach and you are trying to install. And then secondly, you have to believe the things that you are trying to teach and that you are trying to install. So part of living that, I think I started in a workshop, I started in the maintenance environment, and I will forever, ever treasure that experience. So for me, I think one of the authentic things I teach in my team is that you cannot design something if you've never seen how it's being operated, constructed, or maintained. So I think that was the first lesson I learned. So I started in the maintenance workshop, and yeah, a very, very important pillar of my career. I moved after that to a centralized engineering team where I had amazing freedom doing technology pilots. I think Anne-Marie spoke about it earlier today. Again, there I learned that there is a delicate balance between trade-offs and how important it is to understand your technology suppliers. I think a lot of you guys are here. That relationship, understanding how to pick something and have real technical depth in how to solve the problem. From that, I was actually moved over to the project execution leg at Sasol. Another place that I was a sponge. I think it's advice I always give to young engineers. See everything you do as a learning opportunity. So there I was able to see the bigger scale of planning, large capital projects, what is really at the core of making success, what is noise, how do you hand it over, did it make it better? I think, again, a lot of lessons learned. And then my husband got the opportunity to get transferred to Sasolburg, and our winning team made the choice that I transfer as well. So I transferred within the company, and it actually turned out to be a pivotal change in my career, because soon after that I joined Proconics. I joined as a principal engineer. for about 10 minutes. And then I moved into engineering management, which was my passion. So I'm extremely curious, and I've always loved the integration and understanding the total interdisciplinary. There's something that we can create there. So I moved into engineering management on projects. Soon after that, I became the engineering department manager for our refinery leg. Got the shareholding which Dirk mentioned, which was a very, very special time in my career. And then this year I'm going to look after the engineering for the entire geographical profit center. So very exciting. In terms of the authentic team, there's a few things. I think the first one is my curiosity. I'm sitting here in front of my world map. I would almost like to say I'm a bit of an explorer in my office. And then the second thing is my whiteboard, which is a little bit of our village square where we meet and share ideas. So I think just a few things. The first one is always listen, absorb ideas. You never know where that idea is going to come from. So we appoint people because of their judgment, of their intelligence, of their enthusiasm and their passion. So we need to create a space that is safe for them, that they can voice those ideas. And then you can hear it and you can link ideas together because you've seen more of it. You can listen to something and you can link ideas. I think that's the first one. You can learn from other professions. I think that's something that I am quite passionate about. I've got strong people in medical profession, which we have interesting debates around. Yeah, the next one is to create a shared mission. So in my team, that's very important. People want impact and value in what they do. So we always try and look at the bigger picture. We say, why are we doing this project? I've mentioned this in a few of my talks. Everybody around the team, from drafting, everybody needs to know why. And it's not why because we need to do it by that time. It's why because it's unsafe to operate at the moment and it's going to make it safer for someone. And that creates really a shared place for us to go. And it makes it much easier to create clarity on what we're trying to achieve. The second one is, if you create clarity, I think it's very important. There should be clarity in expectations, but there should be freedom in execution. Again, back to you appointed those people for their minds. So the other day, my business manager here asked me, so we have a little system in Proquanix where you check in and you must say, if you're green, you're in a really good space. And if you're red, you're in a not such a good space. It's part of our vulnerability journey, and it's people who are really engaged in it. And my manager asked me, why are your people green, but they're always on schedule? So they're not on schedule because someone is shouting at them. And it forced me to go and think about, okay, why? So I thought they choose to be on schedule. And why are they choosing to do that is because they understand the impact. So we try to share a lot more in, this is what is going to happen if we achieve this, or this is what is at stake if we miss this deadline. We're much more transparent, and people can then judge for themselves, and they really engage, and they use their own judgment, and there's individual reasoning, and people actually, they're trying to achieve the same mission as you. And I think that is, I had to have lived all those other things in terms of gaining the technical depth, gaining the different views on the different sides of the fence for us to share all of that.
Well, thank you very much, Elisma. I think that creates a lot of insight around for the people. And yeah, next up we've got Anna-Marie. I've got a question for you also to tell us a bit about your journey, and then how did you end up here at the forefront of the digitization movement of a major oil and gas company, and I see that role playing a big future in the world for us, looking at what we're busy doing with data, the big data, and I don't want to say Industry 4.0 because I kind of don't like the term, because it's we've been like Lisma and Anne-Marie have been working on projects in that 12, 13 years back, looking at machine maintenance, looking at what you can do. As we've been busy with this our whole career, so it's not something new necessarily in the industry that we're in, but it's very nice to see that we are getting the traction and the publicity to make it to drive it forward. And Anne-Marie, you in your role in the digital office there, I think it's going to play a pivotal role going forward. So yeah, please give us some insights.
Thank you, Dirk. Also, like we discussed earlier, I have been doing projects with data a long time, and we'll get into that. But I wanted to be an engineer because I loved robots, especially medical equipment, robots that will help people. So if you ever see me on LinkedIn, I share that always. I love it. And then I had the opportunity to start working at Sasol, and small world, I worked for Lisma at one stage, which was amazing. And like Dirk said, she piloted a project and I had the opportunity to end it. And that's the first time that I realized about data, because I remember giving people the results of the money we've saved, the automation we could do, how people's jobs will change. And this was in 2008. And I just remember people being completely shocked, and shocked to a point where they just didn't accept it. And, everything just stopped. Although we had verified information, they just couldn't accept it. And it intrigued me. Moving forward, I built my career within Sasol. I had a lot of amazing opportunities within Sasol to have various different opportunities to get different skill sets. And when I was a maintenance manager, I had the opportunity to also do my master's in engineering manager. And there we had a subject on information management. And I heard the term CDO. And that was, I've never heard of it before. And when I read what that job description is or what it's predicted to be, I knew that's the job for me. I need to be in digital and I need to be in data. And if you don't know digital and data, it is in fact two different things. So I love the data part. And I contacted our then CDO and I asked him, would you give me half an hour of your time? And I did a lot of preparation to make sure that I don't waste his half an hour. And I went to him and I told him, listen, when I'm 50, I want this job title. And would you help me? Because I would like to be great at it. I just don't want the title. And we had the most amazing conversation. And that day, I can honestly tell you, it changed my life. Him giving me, like Elisma said, an authentic, real half an hour of, if you want to be great, this is the sacrifices you need to make now. These are things that people will not understand, but you need to do this to be great. And yeah, following that, I ended up in the data office. So yeah, I enjoy it a lot now. And in parallel with that, I also had the opportunity to be part of the SOMC, which a lot of you are part of. Joined them in 2008, became part of their branch leadership. And then from there, it just escalated to where I could be the president. And the beauty of it is every person who works in instrumentation works with data. That's the core of it, right? And what I loved about the SOMC is it filled another need that I also have, which I have a passion for people development. And, the goal of the SOMC, Johan Martens, if you don't know, our CEO at the moment, they are driving to change how are we doing education. And it was when I see in the comments here, Ilana said that she has attended 2 of our IT functions in Secunda, that it was very positive and learned a lot. That is great to hear, because having those conversations with females to say, listen, what is happening? What do you think is a glass ceiling? What do you think you need at work? Has just, for me, been amazing. And I can tell you what I've learned from it is, obviously in my case, in my career, I've been the first female a lot. And it's okay to be the first. Some of us are sometimes the first. It doesn't mean you're the best, it just means you're the first one. And in all of this, at the age where I'm now, I think the most important thing is to know yourself. Know yourself, have those authentic conversations with people, and just follow your dream, because the truth is everyone's road is different. You just need to persevere. And sometimes it's going to look, I made a move once in my career, which people told me is crazy. I still did it. What I learned from that's invaluable. I don't need to tell anyone why.
No, that's very nice. Thanks, Anna-Marie. I think I might pick a traantjie along the way here as with all the passion here. I think there's a few questions that came up along as we've been talking, and maybe we can quickly talk about a few of these questions and then carry on some of the other things. So I think maybe I'll start from the top here. Ilana said, what advice would you give a grade 11 and 12 children that are not sure which study direction to follow? They need guidance, but I think they are too scared to ask. So I think, Elmarie, you touched on some of the, like the engineering week and the winter school that Tikkies does. Maybe you can give a bit more info around that.
So there are a few suggestions that I would make. First of all, most people at this stage have a smartphone. Go on the internet, go and explore, go and look at what the different options there are. So that is if you feel too scared to ask someone, I would say start with that. Then there's so many nice initiatives like the Sasol Techno X, where you can where the schools can come for free, buses bring them for free, and they can then explore and see. I mean, last year they were from veterinarians to universities, so that is a very nice platform to look at different options. And something that I would actually recommend for my children is when they are in grade 11, I want to sneak them into a university and let them go and attend a few classes, because only once you start with a course and you sit there, then you realize, oh, okay, this is what it's about. So I would like to do that with my children and see how they can physically get in there and see what it really entails. A lot of universities have open days as well. I know Koffsies has a virtual tour running at the moment as well, that you can go onto the campus and then you can have a look at what is going on there. It's important, it's very important to give the awareness at grade 11 and grade 12. When I started studying, there were so many different directions that I didn't even know existed. So the more research you do at school, the better.
Yeah, I think there's also a story that Elisma told me. Maybe she can share that while with the Sasol bursaries.
Yeah, I can share that. I think something I want to share with you, Ilona, also is one of our young engineers, Wally, actually also published a little book of different careers from the eyes of first year career women. Can put you in touch with that also a little bit. I think that is something you can scroll through it, and it's a little bit of a one-page story from various different careers. It gives you a little bit of a different introspect because it's from someone's personal experience. I think the story that you want me to tell, I think it was actually quite a sad story. We were in a community outreach and we attended in a community center about 5 schools on a bursary outreach, and there were so many passionate young people there that they were really inspired to be engineers. But in one of the schools, almost the entire school was actually asked to drop from higher grade to standard grade maths. And there were nobody in that school that were able to fill in the form. So I think also being informed, there are lots of opportunities in terms of financing and people looking for young people to support, but you must know what it takes to get in as well. And after that, it's up to you. You put in the hard work. So I think that story is also an important story to help young school kids to say, understand how to get in if you're interested in something also, and keep that also correctly.
The next question we've got, yes, Anne.
Just from my side, there's another initiative, My Future 4.0. I don't know if you guys know, but that's also a very good platform for people to take their kids and the jobs are.
Yeah, I think what we'll maybe do is after the webinar, we'll share a few links, maybe on an email, just about stuff that we are talking about, that you can get some info about this. That would be very nice. I think the next one, I have a question here from an anonymous attendee. As hi ladies, how will you motivate a 2-year engineering training that is about to give her training? I think she's probably mentioning, talking about she's busy filling in her papers, writing up her training. How should you approach this? My maybe Elisma, if you want to come in here, I know you've done a few, worked with young engineers around the EXA. Anna Marie, I know you've worked with Sasol's EITs on their graduate development plan. So maybe I think if Anna Marie can give us some info on typically a graduate development plan, how can you, what should one look out for in that? And then maybe ask this attendee, do they have a plan that they're following?
Yeah, so for me, it was always, or in our setup, you need to understand what is the general skills that you need to have to be able to work relatively anywhere. Because my contracts now are, you know, of such a nature that you might not work at the company where you trained. So you need to make sure that you have the basics. And it doesn't mean person where, so a lot of people go on these rotations and they get to managers who just want something done now because their department needs it. You need to find that balance. So you need to give that manager what he needs because you are there to provide a job for him, but you also need to learn certain things. And that might mean that that's a different conversation to say, listen, I am here to get the following year while I'll still give you what you need, but I still also need this competency. So it's a deficit. You need to learn how to negotiate that. And then the end is to be very honest with yourself, because all of these training programs always end up with an evaluation. Don't be fooled by thinking I'm doing well. Also, don't go to the other side and asking everyone, am I okay? Am I doing great? You know, what do I need to do more? And sounding sort of desperate like, but you need to be very honest. How am I going to be evaluated next to my peers? What do they have in terms of general competencies? So let's say you love something, you go into the program and you find a category that you absolutely love. Don't make the mistake to just stay there, because managers will love you for it because you'll give them amazing work. But at the end of those 2 years, you will be evaluated against your peers. And if you are not on par, you are not going to make it. And you won't find a job anywhere else if that is how your company operates at that stage. So it's very harsh to say that to new people, because everyone wants to work at their passion and that, but you also still need a job. You still need basic competencies.
I think from my side, what fascinated me, so because I look after civil and mechanical process, electrical, I've studied all the EXA curriculums for the different disciplines, even industrial, and it's fascinating how similar, and engineering is engineering. So we tell a little story here that your certificate doesn't say you're a registered this engineer, it just says you're a registered engineer. So there's so many similarities. I think with my graduates, I always start at the code of conduct and understanding ethics and understanding why you're doing this. And then for you that is now 2 years in, what I see, to give you a little bit of practical advice, and you're even welcome to engage with me afterwards. Sometimes what is difficult in your beginning of your career to see is, how do you link the outcomes to what you're busy with? So for someone looking back on it, they can say, oh, that was managing complex engineering activities. So that was problem solving. That was ethical behavior. For you in the start of your career, it's sometimes difficult to verbalize that. You're busy with all these things. It's an overload of information. You're going through, I know everything. And then you go to, I know nothing. And getting a mentor or someone that is EXA registered, something we recommend here, to just help you link those things together. And then what Anne-Marie also said, that self-evaluation, looking at yourself and seeing the growth. I think that is the other very important one, to show growth in that period.
No, what I've always, when I look at myself, I say I've got 15 years of experience now, but I still have 25 years at least of working left. There's more time left to do my work or to go forward. So be patient and get that depth of knowledge. It's going to be in the beginning of one's career that's invaluable. Later, you don't get to do that again. So cherish that when you can get into the thick of the technical things. Okay, then I've got a Kati Elmarie. You gave a great example of returning to engineering after a career break. What tips would you give to other women on returning and when to return?
Thanks, Kati. So one of the things that I would say is plan ahead. Sometimes you plan that you want to have children. We didn't plan to have twins and then a year later another one. So it was a little bit of a bomb shock. But if I could look back and change something, it would be to start planning before that and say that, okay, so my time might be limited now. How can I approach this differently? And look at different possibilities of how you can still utilize your talents. And I think be creative, because you are an engineer, but you have a lot of other talents that built you up until this point where you are. So, and with the planning ahead as well, when I decided, okay, I'm going to stop working, I gave my boss a year's notice. I gave my husband a year's notice as well, told him, sort out your budget because we need to do this right. But within doing that, I didn't burn any bridges. So when opportunities came up later, I still had those strong connections to be able to come back and to deliver a different type of service, but at the end of the day, still problem solving like we studied it.
Oh, cool. I always say it's a lay woman gives you at least a 9 months warning before they're going to go on maternity leave. Somebody that resigns, they've given you a month's notice and they're not going to come back. You're not going to get that person that has been trained and developed. They're not going to be back after 4 or 6 months again. So it is, I think, a lot easier actually than I think one has got a big misconception on that it is should be difficult. Okay, another one from Katja. I think I might should have started from the bottom. I think, but in any case, Anne-Marie, excellent example of why it's important to keep close connections, closely connected to the industry engineering institutes like SIMC, so that your skills are not employer specific but transferable. Yeah, I think that's a very good point on that. And I think the SIMC and a lot of these voluntary associations try and play a guide role to engineers on to, hey, this, I can give you a bit of an industry guide and not just your own situation, be trapped in that. Anne-Marie, if you want to add maybe to that, or?
Yeah, I think it's so important because, you know, one thing, like if you take companies who retrench, no one sees it coming. And at that moment you hear it, it's too late to now ask, can I find a job somewhere else? Am I employable? Are my skills great? Or even in your own work, how can I make it better? You know, join the SIMC, we give you technical sessions where you can hear about what all the new technologies are.
Yeah. I want to encourage people to join the SIMC, join the technical evenings, and then also tell us what do you like, what don't you like, why are you not attending, that we can make the changes. I think it's communication is, one might think you're doing a great job until you ask a few questions. I think that links to our next question in the list here is from Ilana. In your mind, what would differentiate a good manager from a good leader? So, good question. Anyone want to Want to have a stab at that? There. Elisma, Elmarie. Come on, Elmarie.
I get a lot of my energy now. It's contingent. I get my energy now from what my people are achieving. So it used to be maybe from a technical problem, and now it's from collaborating. It's people integrating with each other by choice, not by procedure. So I think managing activities, managing and measuring, maybe if you put that together, versus inspiring and allowing people to grow and allowing them to fully realize their own talent, and maybe a little bit also of serving as well. I always say that the other thing that's important in the team is dependability, and it goes two ways. So you have to be as dependable as you expect the people in your team to be, and it becomes a very collaborative team setting versus measuring against something. I think that is what I can add.
I think we're going to run out of time, but if my colleagues here doesn't mind that much, I think we need just go through all the questions if it's still fine here. The next one we've got here is following up on Anne-Marie said, how should a young engineer deal with competition or working with people you will be evaluated against at the same post? Yeah, I think this comes in as this is a competitive. This is the real world you live in.
Yeah. And, you know, talking about females, so one thing I saw a lot is, I don't know why, and I did it when I was young, you always think that the game is not being played. Just because you are not part of the game does not mean it's not happening around you. So if people see that you are not using mentors, that you are not, you know, spending that extra time, that you are not reading up extra stuff because they're doing it, but you're not, as soon as they see it, you know, it's a gap. And I don't know how to say, it is a balance, but usually from an employer's point of view, these programs are very well managed. The base criteria is set out. So you should be very clear upon what is the criteria to be evaluated against your peers. Yeah, and from there you can shine. I hope that answers your question, Anonymous.
Okay, Colin, so
oh, okay, says.
Dan F. Postema in Potch has a program called the CETH Academy with Potch Engineering facilities to introduce learner engineers to the market. Does the SIMC or SIMZ Vaal have a similar program? We don't, as the SIMC Vaal have a program, but what we try to do is to engage with programs that's already there. I think, like Elmarie also mentioned, there's so many people with programs. It's a bit, you shouldn't now start your own thing. We should work together. So if there's more info around this program, please share it with us, and then we want to get involved in these type of programs.
Yeah. We definitely have representation from the Potch University within the SIMC, and we are definitely open to this. So if you know, we have 40 companies within the SIMC, actually it's more at this point, that needs resources. So please get in contact, like Dirk says, let us start something.
Cathy, Elisma, smile, that's for you.
Oh.
Ilana, it is always said that it's a man's world. How do you manage the idea that as women you cannot correct men on site when you can see that there is a better solution to their challenges? I think.
Well, I want to start there and say, why can't we correct them? We can do that, and we can do it in a very nice way, that they don't feel that we have attacked them. We can do it in a very diplomatic way. From my project management years of experience, I was tough at times, but I could relay my message and help them get to the right answer. Yeah, so Elisma and Anna-Marie, if you want to add on to that.
I think from my, like Almarie said, do it very delicately. I think the first time I did it was when I showed my uncle how multimeter works, and he told me he never thought a woman will show him this. And I was shocked. But remember, it's a person. It's not a man who you're telling, it's a person who you're telling you're doing something wrong in front of other people. So do it respectfully, do it, you know, in a nice way.
Women always have a graceful way of doing things. Men has got a bit of an egotistical, bombastic way that is not pretty. I think women can do it a lot better. I've seen it done a lot better by them. Last one I want to add or not? Okay. Does the SIMC also engage with universities in order to ensure that university education is aligned in the industry in the same way IFAC has a relationship with the universities? Yes, we have a whole department of or a group looking at education. Johan Martens is doing great work at getting the EXA registration for instrumentation and control engineering as a discipline there. And but I think what you're seeing a lot, there's a lot of disciplines currently being transformed into some mechatronics, where the SIMC changed their name to South African Institute of Mechatronics and Control, because that is something new, something similar, but the world is changing quickly. But the SIMC is trying to work with the institutions to make sure that we have the correct skills in the workplace.
Yeah. And Dirk, if I can add, another thing that the SIMC is passionate about, that's one of Johan's biggest fights, is we cannot take 4 years to approve a curriculum, and then you'll give it 4 years later, you'll give us people, then it's 8-year-old technology. It's too long for us. So that's definitely a discussion that happens almost daily.
Okay. Jabulani, question to Almarie. If you were to advise the education minister, what would you tell them? Oh, I don't know if you want to answer.
I just want to say I'm not a specialist on education. I just want to declare that immediately. But there are a lot of studies that have been done by universities to look at South Africa's curriculum. And what has been found is that we have a very good curriculum. We just don't have enough time to create the depth for our students, for our pupils, to remember everything or to cover everything in depth and understand it. So my advice would be to pull in the specialists in academics, which are our universities. Tikkies is also busy with another program where they take children from high school, lower grades, and then they teach them and they help them with their academics to pull it up from a C average to an A average. And that program, the person that we talked to is Petrus Lombard, and when we had discussions with him last week, and he is an old headmaster, and then Tikkies recruited him to start looking at pupils. And he says that in the last few years, he's covered 500,000 children in that through that program. So there are a lot of nice initiatives that our universities are looking at and are driving. So I would say I would recommend start there.
Okay. Another one from Jabulani to Dirk and Elisma. What do you argue about at work and at home, and how do you roles look at work and home? So I don't know. I can answer that. Elisma can answer, but we've met at varsity. We've been working together on practicals and in projects and all of that. So we are very used to working together. We've also worked together as the client and contractor, and that as well as I think the important thing is because we are married, we know we've got each other's back. So, and it's when we are engaging in good arguments at work and that it's you know, it's we are doing the best. This is our job. We need to do the best at our jobs that we can do. And then also we that same passion we've got at work, we also have at home. So we love to travel together and love to do things together. We like the cooking in the house we do together. And now I don't know, we've just a team approach. How do you, I think, juggle the roles? That's, you just do it. I don't think you need to, I think a lot of roles and responsibilities, and there's a lot of things that society puts on us, so preconceived ideas, and my parents used to do that way, or my culture does it this, but I'm a bit of a punk and a rebel, and I don't conform to normal ideas. So
yeah, so it is, I think you can overcorrect to being stricter on each other at work even, then people might be scared to cut each other too much slack, but it almost goes the other way because you show the professionalism, but you know where it's coming from, you trust the person, you know it's for the good of what you're both trying to achieve. I think that is what Dirk say. And then juggling it at home, I think both of us to try and not carry it over to home. I said earlier that morning that it's not always that easy, but I think we found rather a place where we love what we do. So it's not like we are burdening each other with work talk and you are tired of work. I love what I do. Dirk loves what he does. So we have very exciting conversations where we can bounce ideas off each other. And it's not taxing, but you do have to make time for other things. I think you have to actually intentionally make time for that, and that's also important.
I think that what I've read in the book, I wanted to maybe this is a good place to share it, is like what has been found, and a lot of studies shows it, that the unpaid work that gets done in the household is disproportionately to the side of the women usually. And just by balancing the unpaid work in the house, you create the time and opportunity for both to succeed. There's not so when you get home, both can do the dishes and then both can sit and read the Harvard Business Review or do whatever they want to do, studies, extra studies or whatever, but you need to create the time and energy between each other for that, and space.
And you need to have fun together.
Definitely. Okay, Jacoba, having online SMC technical evenings is great for mothers in engineering. I think we've COVID seen that this is not as weird as we thought, so I think we'll definitely carry on with this more online, I would think. Gee, the questions is not going away. Okay.
Sorry, I'm helping typing answers for you.
Thank you. On several occasions, I have considered studying instrumentation engineering, but how do you manage as a wife, mother, and possible student? I think Elmarie you've got 4. Anne-Marie, you've now recently gotten one and also have studied a master's. I think you guys can maybe give a few tips here.
So the advice that I would give is absolute time management. Now, with a small child who does not have a routine, or they don't go to, it's not like a doll that you switch them off and then 7 o'clock you switch them on. It is difficult. So to try to get your balance, what I did in the period where I was extremely busy with our children is I waited for them to go to sleep, and then I would go study a bit, or I would go work a bit, and then but it is difficult. It's not easy. Something interesting to me, when we were in the midst of COVID and myself and my husband were sitting at home working, whenever any of the children would start crying or screaming, my husband would never hear it, but I would immediately look up and try and sort it out. And I think that is something that we do need to take into consideration. As mothers, we have a different instinct towards our children, and that is it's difficult. It's difficult to create that balance. If you can, maybe postpone it for a little while until your child is at an age where they can sleep through, where you can actually make time for yourself. But I know when they are small, it is really difficult.
From my side, there was a time where I studied my master's and my husband did my master's. And what I will tell people is, if you can still choose your partner, make sure it's a great one, because it can make or break you. And there was a time where I never touched dishes. I didn't go to ShopRite or any of those places. My husband, he did everything. And that is very unconventional. You need to be able to not listen to the world, because that is our partnership. He needed to do that while he was doing his masters. I dealt with everything from the budget right straight to shopping at, groceries. And that's unconventional. And like Amri said, it's absolute time management. I know females who even it matters what microwave they take, because the difference between a minute and 10 minutes is 9 minutes. And it depends on your house. So, yeah.
How do you navigate... Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. I think you and Elmarie gave a good insights there. So, Anonymous at India, how do you navigate an environment where you are a minority? Sometimes you can be in an environment where it feels like you are infiltrating the old boys club. So, yeah, I think that's the tough life of engineering, women in engineering. Please, this is a good question.
Just a quick one. Find a friend. Find a friend, maybe not even in that environment, but outside. And that is where evenings like tonight is extremely important for me, because make a connection with us and bounce and talk to us about it, because you need people in your corner who support you and who encourage you to go that extra mile.
I think that this morning we had a little discussion with our CEO on the difficulty when there's no examples. And I think I can tell it here. So in Proconics, if you become a shareholder, your name is placed on a wall of accountability. So it is a beautiful symbology of you are now accountable, and there's a little place where anyone can put in a letter where they can ask you any question and they can hold you to account. And even that small little symbol has opened personally after that, people thought now they can contact someone because they saw a name. And I think what Elmarie is saying is that those examples might seem like it's not in your near circle. You've met 3 ladies here today. They might connect you to someone that they know in your circle. Don't be scared to put up your hand and ask. I think that is where we often put limits on ourselves, that we later look back and wonder, why did that happen? And yeah, I invite you.
I can add from my experience with the SMC, there's a lot of times where I'm the only female in the room. And I can tell you, like the lady said, reach out to others ladies. But I can also tell you from my experience, like 5% of the men is that stereotype that's horrible. the other 95 is amazing. If you just take a second, you know, they have daughters, they have wives, they understand, and they want someone with a different perspective. You know, taking the SMC, our directors, I've never had a conversation where I felt, wow, I'm the imposter. And for the young people, there's a channel on YouTube where they call it imposter syndrome. Google it, I think the thing, Michelle Obama, yeah. Read about it, you'll be like, oh yes, this is me.
Cool,
I
thanks.
I think thanks for bringing that up, Anne-Marie. It's not a competition, it's valuing each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, thanks for that. Then, Javier, hi, apologies, first timer here. How do you see the future of incorporating mechatronics with the SIMC? Anne-Marie.
I just say that again.
How do we see we're going to incorporate mechatronics into the SIMC?
So I read it and hoped you wouldn't ask me. Okay, so it's a big part. You'll see, actually, they're renaming the SIMC. So it was always Society of Automation, Instrumentation, Measurement and Control, and now it's actually Mechatronics and Control. So there's a big discussion on will mechatronics be what we are calling ourselves, because we also need to change with, you know, how the world is changing. So yes, mechatronics is a big thing. I think Potchefstroom is one of the universities who's aligned with us, and they actually, mechatronics is what they call sort of what we do. So yeah, it's big.
Yeah, I think a first step would be come join the SIMC, chat with us, tell us what you are doing, and we'll embrace that and work with it.
Yeah, and if there's a lot of
join
questions,
the conversation, please.
Yeah, we can always have a session with Johan Martens to just talk about what's happening with education.
That's good, thanks. Kati, Lisma, I like the way you spoke about clarity in expectation versus freedom in execution. Is this also what you have experienced so far in your roles?
No, Kati, so I think I evolved to there. I think it is very much around the culture. So I'm currently in a place where the experimentation is encouraged. We are trying to be different than how do you differentiate yourself. So making mistakes, experimenting, trying new things is encouraged. And if you stifle it's the way people do their own work, then you're not going to get that. If you work in a culture, or even if it's just for yourself, where fear of failure is a big thing, then you will very much start and go the other way around. So I think, yeah, it was an evolution to here, and definitely if you're doing pioneering things and you are trying to be the first and different in the way you approach engineering problems, I'm seeing great benefits in that.
I think this is going to be the last question. We've worked all through, we've run over our time, sorry for everyone. Time for husbands to step up and support their wives in their studies and work. Men are not crippled. We can cook, clean, look after kids. As Anne-Marie said, the marriage is a partnership. Totally agree.
Yeah, and I know Mark, he lives what he's saying. He's a very involved dad. Wonderful.
That's always nice to hear. Yeah, I think that brings us to the end of our session. We've overrun our time with all the excitement. But I most definitely want everybody to join the SIMC, or reach out to us, talk to us if you want to have more information. And I want to leave you with a challenge for the month of August. Go and read a book that has been written by a woman author. Watch some Netflix that is being directed by women. Killing Eve was a great one for me. We just watched, and The Old Guard. It gives one a perception, or it changes one's mind about how the way you think about things. And yeah, cool. Support the women in your life and in your workplace as well. See how we can do this. Get our stats up above 11%. We're missing out on a lot of talent. So thank you very much to also to the my panel here. I coerced them into attending. But thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
From my side, I think that just the passionate interaction on the right-hand side here on the chat. I'm glad we're recording it because I want to read through everything. I want to say thank you for participating. I loved it, and thank you for your questions. And it was authentic when we said you can reach out to us after this as well.
Thanks,
I would like to just close off and say I hope this is the beginning of a great future for us to start having these conversations more often.
Thanks. And Anne-Marie, last thing from you?
No, I love the conversations. And yeah, reach out to us. And if you have any SMC ideas, please let us know. We love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.